Give me a couple of minutes whilst I just share the video. How are we all doing? What day is it? It's Sunday. So we had a nice weekend. I've already done some baking today, which you can kind of see at the back. There. Yes, it's in the cake tin there. So I can show that later. I was going to use that, but I don't need that anymore. I'll do it in a different tin. Right. Come say hi if you're already watching. I'm going to make chocolate brownies today, and it's actually one of the very first recipes we ever made. Let's get the eggs. I'm making the nut-free version, which, yeah, it uses 4 eggs. So, this is one of the most original. This is one of the originals. I remember first experimenting with this recipe when we used to have recipes as like Photoshop sheets that we'd made because we didn't know about like Canva or the website that I now make all of the recipes recipe sheets on. We used to basically download them as images and share the recipe sheet, kind of like an A4 print. Hi Karen, and this was one of those. We only had like 30 before we found how to do it on a website. So that's how old this recipe is. It has changed though since we first started. It used to have a lot more chocolate, which obviously can make a tray quite pricey because the chocolate is one of the most expensive ingredients in this, in the quantity that you use it in anyway. So it got reduced. Remember, it was 175 grams. It's now 100 across either of the recipes, whether it's original or nut-free. So it has changed, but the basis of the recipe is quite old. And we've also, since then, been playing around with obviously lots of different alternatives. So I'm going to be making the nut-free version for no reason other than I prefer the texture of using coconut flour rather than almonds, especially for something chocolatey. Just a personal preference. So the basis is the same, but if you're doing a nut-free version, you swap the almonds for 25 grams of coconut flour rather than 70 grams of almonds, and you add an extra egg. The recipe is linked in the description, so you don't need to bother about writing anything down, or it's in the WTF cookbook, page 124 if you have the new version. If you have the old version, I don't have a clue, but it's called brownies or chocolate brownies, so it's the same. First step is chocolate and butter, sort of melting them together. I went to Sainsbury's earlier, and they don't really have a decent own brand 85%. So normally we get our chocolate from Aldi or Lidl because we prefer that one the best. But I just walked to Sainsbury's earlier because I only needed cocoa powder and chocolate, and I'm not driving to Aldi for that, when actually Bourneville is one of my favourites. So what I did pick up is they have their own brand 80%, which is a little bit too sweet for my taste, but they also had this on offer. It's Montezuma 100%. I've had 2 squares. It's very nice. I really like it. I understand it is not to everyone's taste. 1 second. The scales don't like this roll straight away. So I'm going to use half and half. So technically, I'm using 90% chocolate. Kelvin, 85% is what we usually use in recipes because it's one of the most common of the darkest chocolates, if that makes sense. Lidl used to do a 95, which I really liked. Basically, use the percentage you want. Obviously, the darker means the less sugar. This is 100%, and it is 8 carb per 100. Whereas this is 80 and it's 30 carb per 100. So you can see the difference. The only ingredient in this is cocoa solids. Whereas this obviously has a little bit of sugar, although it is the last ingredient. And the other 2 ingredients, the only other 2 ingredients are cocoa mass and cocoa butter. So it's up to you. If you're brand new to this, we used to go around to families' houses years ago and cook a couple of different dishes, and if they had kids, they usually wanted to make brownies, and we'd use a lighter percentage then because it makes a lighter flavour chocolate brownie. I should get started and melt the chocolate, shouldn't I, rather than waffling. But if you want dark, then go for a darker percentage. I don't think I've ever made brownies using only 100%, and to be quite honest, I don't think I would, because it's too expensive to make a tray of brownies out of, unless you find it on offer. But oh, for God's sake. Come on. I want to use this bowl because it's clear. It doesn't like how heavy the bowl is. So we need 100 grams of chocolate. I'm going to do 50 of each. I think I'm going to have a spare square. Yes. Okay, and 50 grams of this. So we very rarely have that stuff in. But I've also tried the orange flavour Montezuma. That's really nice. But I do like dark chocolate now. I appreciate it's an acquired taste. If anyone's made my chocolate recipe and you've used the cacao liquor drops, I eat those. Not like I would normal chocolate, but I would just eat one if I'm making a set of chocolate, and that is basically that. Okay, 100 grams of chocolate. Move that to the side. I'm going to set this off to melt first before I add some of the butter, or all of the butter. The chocolate takes longer to melt, so I'm just going to pop that in the microwave for about a minute. I find that in our microwave, I can start the chocolate off on a minute, and then every other blast it's 30 seconds, and that will prevent it from burning. Actually, yes, I tell a lie, I've tried the lime and sea salt one as well. That is really nice. I use it in Mexican dishes, but only a small amount, as I said, expensive. Yeah, it's one of those ones where I was like, do you know what? I'll treat myself. And it makes a 90% when you mix it with the 80, so it's a perfect one to use for the brownies. I can't remember what it was on offer, but it was a red label, and it was cheaper than buying some of the Lidl. No, not Lidl. Lindor. They only have 3 brands in our Sainsbury's, so it was that or Lindor. What have you done to your finger? Oh, my thumb. I have a bad habit, just of picking. So I've covered my thumb with a plaster. It's the only way I can stop. I hope someone else has that habit, because otherwise I'm going to look really weird. Look, Dan, what's new? I'm eating chocolate. I do like chocolate. Okay, that's been a minute, I think. Still got a while to go yet. Just going to shift the chocolate around a bit, because if it stays in one place, it's more likely to burn. But that's nowhere near done yet, so we can have a bit more of a chat. Okay, so hi Liz, brownies, I was going to make some, but realised my chocolate in the cupboard was only 54% boo. So you could use it, but it depends on what your goals are. If you're trying to limit your carbs quite low, you might not find that the brownies are macro friendly for you. But 54% is still technically classed as dark, but it's not dark when you actually start eating dark chocolate. Right, that's another 30 seconds. How are we doing? Better. It's time to go soft. I'm going to add the butter in. Sue, IKEA. That's, I mean, ages ago. I don't think we have any others at the moment. I think they came in a pack of 3. And I don't remember seeing the third one for ages. We've got one that's slightly bigger, which would suit this bowl more, but I don't know where it is. 100 grams of chocolate and 80 grams of butter. I'm trying to get this exact. Come on. Yes. Oh, no. We'll stay with that. It's hovering between 179 and 180. I keep that cover on. It's more useful for when you're melting butter so that it doesn't explode all over the microwave, because I have the worst luck when it comes to that. But it would also help the chocolate, stop it from burning. I want to try your keto chocolate recipes, but don't have some. I have some cocoa butter. Don't normally eat sweet things, but fancy trying some. I really like them because you can keep them in the freezer. So if you don't normally eat sweet things, it's not like you have to worry about sort of eating everything in one go. And to be fair, if you're not adding cream to it, if it's literally just cocoa butter and cocoa powder, they're not going to go off. It's oil and cocoa powder, so and sweetener if you want it. It's only when you start adding things in, like if you want to add raspberries in and stuff, then you might think about putting in the freezer. But they're really nice. Yes, it says eat well from the freezer also. No, I can't eat chocolate straight from the freezer. It's like my ice cream. You've got to wait for it to melt. I don't get people who can bite into ice cream. Alright, I've given that a bit of a swirl. Oh yeah, if you're adding nuts into it, that's fine. Again, anything that wouldn't go off on its own, like it's not going to need to be put in the freezer. So pecans I've got here, if I were to add them into chocolate, I wouldn't need to keep it in the fridge or the freezer. Unless you start adding things like, even like coconut milk or cream, you don't want, it'll start melting outside of the fridge, because obviously at room temperature it's a liquid. So that's when you just got to start playing around with, okay, can it be kept out of the fridge, or is it just going to start to melt? You've not got any sort of the stabilizers that they put into shop bought stuff. Oh no! What was the whine for? What's wrong? She's just sat on her bed whining at me because she's not getting attention. No way. What shocked you, Tracy? Okay. Hot. That's really hot. Funny that. It's been in the microwave. Okay, it's almost melted. There's a few lumps of butter left, but yeah, just a gentle stir like that and it's pretty much gone. So that is the melted chocolate. We've created 90%. Using half and half, 180. And then added in 80 grams of butter, unsalted. You can use salted if you want slightly salty brownies, but I would prefer not. I've used it unsalted. Right, next step is cream. I add this in now because then I don't have to worry about it being too hot to then add the eggs in. It just, adding cream now cools everything down. Means you don't have to wait around or worry about making scrambled egg. 60 ml of cream. You can replace this with coconut milk from the tin if you would like. Same texture. And they don't taste too coconutty, to be fair. I mean, maybe if you're making... No. You could, if you're making it the nut-free version and then replacing the cream with coconut, you might make a coconutty chocolate brownie. I don't know. I've not tried that combination. So Dan's yoga ball. Fancy brownies. Yeah, no, we're not about fancy brownies. Do you know what? I did once make a very expensive tray of brownies because we got from our chocolatier, we got given a couple of slabs of like sample chocolate. The most expensive chocolate I've ever used to make brownies, because obviously it is hand made. I don't know the process, but the machines are really cool to make them. And sorry, it's kind of difficult to open this without using my thumb. It tasted great, but it worked out. If I got the chocolate at retail price, it would have been about £13 for a tray of brownies. So they didn't try that again, but they were very nice. Hang on, Rennie. Sorry, I'm trying to read your comment. Here's my gifts for Christmas. Went to make the cherry almond cake. Yeah, we only do one cake mix. That's the chocolate cake. Rennie, if you want to, obviously I'm trying to, I'm not thinking straight right now because I'm trying to make brownies at the same time. Rubbish at multitasking. Email me, team@ketoaromabakery.com, and I'll be able to help you out if I can. While I'm going off subject a bit, do you have to pound the granulated sugar substitute for some recipes? Are you finer? Very few. Some recipes like biscuits and cakes, you might find it gives a better texture. I'll be honest, I very rarely grind the sweetener down to a finer powder because I can't be bothered. But it would make it finer texture if you're making like a shortbread biscuit. If you need to, the recipe will say so. Otherwise, I wouldn't worry about it. Right. Chocolate, butter, cream, eggs. Next up, all the dry. Oh no, let's add the vanilla first, and then it's all the dry stuff. So, as I said, I'm doing the nut-free version, which means there's 4 eggs instead of 3. Yeah. 4 eggs, Calvin. Both versions of the recipe are linked in the description of this video. So that was a bit of vanilla essence. Right, so the dry stuff now. Actually, whilst I remember, let's turn the grill on. So we want it on bake 170. Coco's in a mood. I'm sorry. She's just lying down at the door now. Don't want the door open. Yeah. No worries, Rennie. I'll see what I can do. Right. Coconut flour, 25 grams. So if you're replacing ground almonds for coconut flour, do not do 1-to-1. You will end up with a brick or something resembling a rock cake. Coconut flour is much more absorbent than almonds, so you don't need to use as much, and generally you need to also add more liquid, hence the extra egg. If anyone goes to Sainsbury's, this is the better value cocoa powder, other than they have 2 in the one that we go to. So there's like a small tub, which looks like their own brand or something that is kind of made out to be their own brand, and then they have Cadbury's Bourneville. I know it says Cadbury's on it, but there is only one ingredient, and it's cocoa powder, and it's actually a really nice one. It's quite light, and it's better value than the other tub they got. $20 grams of cocoa powder and sweetener, 20 to 30 grams. Again, this is where you sort of change it. If you're using a lower percentage chocolate, you might not need as much sweetener. Generally, I say add in about 20-25 grams, taste the mix, and then see if you need to add a bit more. You want the mix to be slightly sweeter than what Coco wants. Coco. I've got the baking powder out, yeah. Generally, you want the mix to be slightly more sweet than you would typically have it, because it will lose some of it whilst it's baking. That's my opinion anyway. You just got to figure out where your preferences are. I've actually knocked the baking powder down. It's probably not a full teaspoon there. because I want the brownies to be really gooey. So gently fold this in. Cocoa powder has a tendency to go everywhere. And this hoodie has just been washed, so I don't want to get cocoa powder on it. You can use a whisk if you want. I always prefer a spatula. Okay. Looks really nice, actually. Very silky. I think the higher percentage of dark chocolate, as in the darker, the more silky the mix will be. There's one thing I remember about using the 100% sample, the 98% it was, the chocolate we got from our local chocolatier. It made the mix so silky, it was great. Alright, there we go. That's everything in there. You can kind of see texture-wise, it's kind of, it's thick, but it's also not, you could be able to pour it if you want to. So, as for tins, I have two here, just in case this one is too small. So usually we'd go for like a 7x7 or an 8x8 tin. This one fits quite nicely in the Ninja Grill, which is what I'm using. So that's what I'm going to use for at least most of the mix. It is slightly smaller, so I have got a little like £1 loaf tin here as well. Just in case I need to add a bit of the mix into there, and we just make 2 tins worth. Dan, have you blown it up yet? Right, I don't need the scale, so don't worry, I'm moving. Okay, let's see. So for those who weren't in the members accountability class, Dan ordered a yoga ball to help with what did you order it for? I mean, I know it's for marathon prep. Is it so you can do yoga with it? And he ordered a slightly larger one because he is very tall. Hello, Michelle. I think I might be able to fit all of this mix in this tin, to be fair. Yeah, why not? They might be slightly chunkier than normal, but that just means they'll be more fudgy. Baking time for brownies is kind of up to you, because it depends on how cakey you want it and how fudgy you want it. Now, in my opinion, the fudgier the brownie, the better. So I'm going to bake it for quite a short time. I'm going to see if they'll be done by... Sorry. I'll see if they'll be done before I finish the live. So part of the accountability Zoom, Dan had ordered this yoga ball, which was actually advertised as a maternity ball, and then he started getting loads of adverts for new mothers. That's me, RG. No one's at the door. Does anyone else's dogs do this? I mean, probably, because it's probably a universal experience. See? It was me. Right, I'm just going to gently push the batter into the corners. Now, you can add other stuff if you want. So, I made some avocado brownies a little while ago because we had an avocado going off in the bottom of the fridge. And they work best with very squishy avocados. So I did like a half batch. And I was wondering like what I could do with them. I ended up spooning some jam on top. So it's kind of like a black forest brownie. Because the jam was mostly, it's currants and berries. So you can do whatever you want. I mean, I've also made a cake, which I will show you in a minute, and that had pecans on. I'm just going to leave this as it is, because this is for all of us. So, Ninja has, it says add food. So I'm going to pop it in. I'm going to start with 10 minutes. Come on. No, we don't want 5 minutes, 10. So usually between 10 to 15 minutes is about decent for a fudgy brownie. It depends on how your oven bakes. If it's a fan oven, it will also take less time, and the grill will take less time. So just keep an eye on it. You want the middle to be kind of squishy, but also not still brownie batter. But obviously if they're fudgy, you then want to let them cool. Even in the fridge, trap it with foil. There's a few different tricks to sort of keep the moisture in. Basically, just let them cool, let them sort of settle back down, and you've got a nice fudgy brownie inside. So, what have I been up to today? Well, a lot of stuff, but I've also been filming a video. Hi, David. Black cherry keto jam on avocado brownies with whipped cream is our favourite weekend treat. That sounds amazing, Kath. Very nice. Yeah, your Staffy does, Michelle. So it's basically if you've ever made like a sound that resembles someone knocking on the door, both dogs go nuts. No pun intended. Can you see the pecans on top? So I filmed a video earlier today for the Ketoroma channel. This is using the chocolate cake mix we do, and the only things you have to add are melted butter, olive oil, yogurt or sour cream, and eggs. And then I added some pecans on top. Hopefully you can see. So they're kind of toasted on top. Oh, wow, the camera's focused as well. Look at that. That very rarely happens. Normally you just see out of focus dishes. Yeah, cool them as quick as you can so they go fudgy. There you go. So I have tried some tips like cover it with foil, whack it in the freezer for 30 minutes. It's like a quick blast of cool, and then transfer to the fridge. So I might do that. Obviously, you've got to let it cool ever so slightly outside before you put it in the freezer because the tin is very hot. Let's see if I can get this out of the tin. I didn't grease it because usually I don't need to with this tin. So, we'll see. Thanks, David. That was me, by the way. It was my old Google for some reason. Who, Chris? What, saying about fudgy? Oh, yeah, the cooling comment. Hello, Chris. All right, so this baked for about 20-ish minutes in the foodie. When you're baking in the all of our recipes can be baked in the oven if we say preheat the oven to 180. They're made for ovens. But if you haven't realised already, we tend to use our Ninjas a lot more than the ovens because there's no reason having the oven on for one thing. So this was baked in the foodie earlier today at 175 rather than 180 for about 20 minutes. So basically, I probably could have left it in for a bit longer because it sank a tiny bit in the middle, but I'm fine with that. There you go. You can see the pecans on top. So it's just a third of a bag of chocolate cake mix. If you wanted a taller cake, make it in a smaller tin. This is quite a large tin for that amount of mix. But I couldn't find, we have a silver one, which is slightly smaller. That would have been perfect. I couldn't find it. Found the base, not the tin. That's the problem with these springform things. You can never find both parts when you need them. So, I'm going to see, for the video, I need to keep it fairly pretty. So I'm going to cut one slice, I think. I should have planned these pecans better because they're kind of like exactly where I need to cut. Oh, I think I've got under the grease proof there. Yeah, I have. I was trying to pick it up with a knife and actually ended up picking up the grease proof. So I've taken out the middle. That's fine. You can still see the structure there. Here you go. There's a kind of slice of cake. It's not going to focus. It's trying to focus on my face. I'm sorry about that. But there you go. That is not brownies. That's chocolate cake using the chocolate cake mix from Keith Aroma that I just guessed was chocolate cake mix because it didn't have a label on, which is why it's here. But that looks really good. I think the pecans are a nice addition. They'd work well on brownies as well. I just didn't want to do the same thing twice. So they've toasted nicely. You could chop them up and sort of fry them a little bit in butter or make granola out of them first before sprinkling them on top of a cake. But they work perfectly like that. Or melt a little bit of butter, add a bit of sweetener if you want them to be a bit sweeter. Dan, this is not the place for that kind of chat. If it explodes, you've put too much air in. How about that? See, I've been very prepared today, and I've also prepped dinner. So, I've got some cod in there, sprinkled with salt, pepper, and parsley. I think it's cod. It's white fish. Cod, haddock, one of the two. And then I've shredded mostly, I mean, again, I've overdone it, I know, but I always overdo it on veg, and we always end up with leftovers. Cabbage, leek, and yellow pepper. I thought I'm going to pan fry that whilst the cod's cooking, and then add some cream cheese in to sort of make it a kind of like creamy sauce. And then maybe add some extra parsley into it, because parsley goes really nice. That would make a good photo. Dan, an exploding ball. Right, 3 more minutes until the ninja beeps. So are there any questions to fill the time? Let me know. Let's see if we can get this other slice out. Yes, that's a proper slice. I've not lost the middle there. So I filmed the sort of making of this. It's not really a recipe video because it's just showing how to use the mix. But I need to do the last step, which is showing the completed bit. I do like adding pecans on top. When it's arrayed like that, and you usually get 1 per slice. It looks really nice. A great way of making a cake look quite posh with minimal effort. And it really works with chocolate cakes, I think. What essences do you recommend? I got the banana one by Troublesome, but it was not great. I know I've asked before, but can't find the live answer. So, essences, it depends on how clean you want them to be, because obviously sometimes we just use, and get ready for the keto police to come barging in, we sometimes use store-bought vanilla essence, which yes is sugar-based, but you use such a small amount that for us, me and Louie, that's fine. However, Tesco do a nice one. I think it's called Taylor and College. That's the sort of brand name. I think I've got their coffee. 1 second. I don't know, that's a similar one. Similar sort of look. You're not going to be able to see that, are you? It's not going to focus. This one is Nielsen Massey. This is lemon extract, and then the ingredients are ethanol and natural oil of lemon and water. So there are ones that look like those kind of bottles. They look kind of old-fashioned compared to just the syrupy vanilla ones. We've got a lemon and we've got a coffee in there as well. And they do a nice vanilla bean paste, which is really good as well. Those have no sugar in them. But you can just use the store-bought ones if you're not fussed or if you're new to this and whatnot. Other ones, some people use things like My Protein flavor drops for some of the more weird ones like banana essence. They use sucralose, which is kind of a grey area sweetener. Some people use it, some people don't. It's said to have a 0 GI, but it's also artificial. So it's up to you. Have you tried the brownies with peppermint essence in? Yes, and they are very nice. You do have to add, or at least in my opinion, you have to add a bit more than you think. Mainly because I usually don't add as much peppermint as I would vanilla, and I end up not getting as much mint flavour as I want. But yeah, they're really nice. And in the decadent chocolate cake recipe as well, mint essence works really well. And orange. Those are my two favourites, orange and mint. Okay, that's done. 10 minutes. Wow. Alright, let's move the cake over. 1 second, I'm just going to let Coco come out because she wants to go outside, I think. Come on. Brownies done. So I even could have gone less time, but I reckon if I let them set, it's like a little bit wiggly in the middle. So I reckon it's still going to be kind of fudgy in the middle there. But again, I'm going to let them cool. After a few minutes, once the tin has cooled down, I will whack them in the fridge because again, apparently that helps them makes them go a little bit more fudgy. And foil also helps. Which luckily I have. This is what happens when Louis uses the foil. There's a section here that is so long. That's really annoying. Hello. I'm not going to worry about making it like airtight. Just doing this will keep in some of the moisture as it cools. This tin will cool down pretty quickly anyway. But that's that. I'll leave it out for 10 minutes and then I'll whack it in the fridge until I decide to cut it. It happens all the time with my foil too. I very rarely use it. But there we go. Brownies cooked in 10 minutes. Mixed, you can make the mix in like 10 minutes as well. And then do let them cool. They taste so much better once they've had time to rest back down. But they are nice when you reheat them and have them with cream. Thank you very much for watching. I don't actually know the live plan properly for the next week, but it will appear on this page. I'll put the link in on the Facebook and YouTube live page. That one there. Once we know the full timetable, it will change. I know there is a kick tonight at 7:30 and also next Sunday at 7:30 as well. So if you are looking for an intro to keto, you don't have to have your camera on, you don't have to have your mic on, you don't need to ask any questions. You can if you want to. There you go. There's the link to the kit. It's free. You can find the link in the Zoom link in the Facebook events section of our group, or if you're not on Facebook, email us. There you go. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you later. Goodbye.